officers and saving officers.
And once they tried and they couldn't, this is where we are.
After Akisama, they be a number for me.
Bushfire is the worst enemy of our forest, farmland, and the economy. You know, bushfire destroys Ghana's forest cover and vegetation at an annual rate of 75,000 hectares, and about 3% of Ghana's GDP is lost through the menace of bushfire every year. The livelihood of victims of bushfire is worrisome and very challenging. The only way that we can stop our worst enemy, especially during the Harmattan season, is to stop indiscriminate burning of the bush in the Harmattan season when humidity is very low. Stop hunting for bush meat with fire. Avoid palm wine tapping with fire in the dry season. Stop slash and burning without creating fire belts. Stop cooking on the farm without extinguishing the fire after cooking. Drivers and passengers must stop dropping lighted cigarette butts whilst driving. What you need to do: create fire belts before burning. Ensure that the firefighters, fire volunteers, or forestry guards are present before burning. Practice early burning before the Harmattan season. To save my life, your life, and our environment, please stop bushfires now.
Friends, Epictetus once upon a time said, "It is not what that has happened that matters, but the interpretations of what that we place on what has happened that matters." A lot of things happen to us. The world is throwing a lot of things to us. The question is, how are we dealing with all that the world throws at us? Others
Welcome to the Ghana National Fire Service TV, simply called the Fire Service TV. This channel is coming up to fill a gap in the Ghanaian television industry. The Ghana National Fire Service was established to prevent and manage undesired fires. And as part of that mandate, we are to conduct public fire safety education. Now, as an institution that was established to provide fire safety education, there is the need to have a channel through which this education will be propagated to the people of this good country, Ghana. This station is being established as alternative to other security channels that deal specifically on security issues. This channel will therefore focus on the safety of the generality of the people of Ghana. This station is therefore going to show the people of Ghana what to do and what not to do in order to have a safe country for all of us. Safety is very practical in nature, and therefore short videos and clips Fire Service TV to the people of Ghana so that everything we do will be practicalized. You can sit comfortably in your home, watch this channel, and practice it so that we'll be safe in this country. Therefore, I urge all of you Ghanaians to tune into this channel every day of your life so that we will all be safe in our country, Ghana. Thank you very much.
Was on in figures by way of number incident that we've been able in terms of incidents, there is improvement. We want to delve deep into the intricacies, the various types of fires, the causes, and then what we can all do to support and prevent these fires and other related incidents from happening. So if the production team is ready, they can help us with the statistics from January to May. But before then, we want to announce the WhatsApp line where you can send in your comments or your questions, and we'll be glad to respond appropriately to it. On your screen, you can easily get the number, but for the sake of those who are listening to us, then WhatsApp line that you can send your comments and your questions and your views is 050-960-8744. 050-960-8744. Keep your views, keep your comments, and then keep your questions coming, and then we'll be glad to address them for you. So if production team is ready, please, you can help us with the infographics so that we can delve deep into the statistics. Today we are looking at the period January to May 2023 as compared to 2024. And if you look at the numbers and in terms of regional breakdown, you would realize that from January to May, as can be seen from your screens, in 2023, for the first 5 months, we recorded a total of 3,111 fires, as against 3,238 fires for the same period in 2024. If you look at the month of January, you realize that last year we recorded 827 as against 802, meaning there was a marginal decline. If you look at February, you realize that the month of February we recorded some significant hike. If you look at that of 2023, it was 728 as compared to 917. So it means that if you look at it, there was a sharp rise in the fire outbreak that we recorded, especially in the month of February as compared to that of February last year. Then you come to March, you would also realize that there was a decline. We did 622 in March 2023, as well as 594 this year, meaning that the fires went down. If you also look at the month of April, there was a slight reduction in terms of fires. We recorded 506 for April 2023, as well as 488 for the same period this year, indicating a decline. If you look at May, there was 428 fires in May 2023, and then we also recorded 437, also indicating a slight increase. So, sir, this is the trend of the fires that we recorded for the first 5 months of this year, as compared to, we realized that in February there was a sharp increase, and we did roughly around 189 cases up. So if I may ask, what is the contributing factor that led to the fires going up by that margin?
Right. So generally, there should be a rise from the previous year, simply because wherever you have development, you have fire incidents going up. And I have always been doing my analysis using the UK. England, for instance, is the same size as Ghana. But if you look at the incidents that they record there, is as much as 5 times what we have here. It is simply because over there is development, and development is associated with fire incidents. And so naturally, if we are having an upsurge in fire incidents, it should be normal. However, because we have fire safety education as our priority, we don't expect the increase to go that much. We expect most often a reduction, rather. And so generally, if there is an increase, there shouldn't be any cause for worry, because 1, we are developing, and 2, we have migration. You know, people migrate from the north coming to south, others too from other regions of the other countries of the sub-region coming into Ghana. When all these people come in, they settle in what we call squatters. And once they settle in these squatters, they carry out the activities, it is associated with fire outbreaks. So generally, if the trend is increasing, there shouldn't be any cause for alarm. But like I said, because of the efforts we put in to ensure that we create the necessary awareness, then we should also, in some instances, be alarmed, because we should have results. But if not because of that, then generally, if there should be any increase, it shouldn't be any cause for alarm. Now, if you look at February, you know, the weather this year has not been very favorable because of the extreme weather we had in terms of the Harmattan being severe and the hot weather condition that we went through. That explains why in February we had a slight rise in the figures as compared to last year. But once again, I want to reiterate that they shouldn't cause any alarm, in the sense that if we want development, then we should brace for more fire outbreaks, because fires are associated with development. So in brief, this is what I will tell you. And then what I also want to add is that because of the severe weather conditions that we went through, you see that when we come to individual or the group aspects, when we talk of the type of or classification of fires as we have grouped them, bushfires were on the rise. And it is as a result of the factors that I have explained. If you have severe weather conditions, it allows bushfires to thrive, because the little ember that will drop on the bush, it will start a fire. And so bushfires contributed immensely to what we have seen. So once again, I've said that this shouldn't be a cause for worry, in a sense that, look, we use fire for everything that we do. People deliberately set the fire to the grass so that the grass can burn. Once the grass burns, new grass sprouts out, and they use that to feed their animals. And so some of these things is understandable. However, because we continue to create the necessary awareness, we expect that intentional bush burning, like burning the grasses for cattle rearing or for sheep rearing, that shouldn't be the case. Because we have been telling these farmers that, look, the animals themselves adjust to the situation. They are aware that the weather is dry. Therefore, they will eat the dry grass. What you as the farmer should do is to give them more water, because the food that they eat is dry, and therefore they will demand more water in that respect.
Thank you so much, sir. As the figures have shown, there has been a marginal increase of about 4.1% in the fires recorded for the first 5 months of this year as compared to the same period last year. But sir, going back to the statistics, we would delve deep into the various types. But going back to the statistics, you would still see that even in January, where we expect that the Harmattan was to have peaked or was to have be on the high, we recorded a marginal drop of about 25 in terms of reductions, about 25, represent about 3% in terms of the figures that we had. And then also, even in May, we've seen some slight rains coming in. That one too, we experienced a marginal increase of about 9, represent about 2.1%. As you have indicated to us, this should not be a source of concern, because once we are developing, we should expect that the risks that leads to fire outbreaks becomes more, and therefore, with the least passage of flammable front or the misuse of naked light or any other forms of sources of heat could degenerate into these fire outbreaks. But I want to understand something. What is still accounting for the rise in the fires, even as we are expecting rains? We are even experiencing some rains, especially in the month of May. And we know that even this month we have gotten some bit of rains. What is accounting for the rise in fires, or what accounts for the rise in fires, even in the rainy season, sir?
Right, thank you very much. During this particular period that we are in, because the weather is cold, we do a lot of heating. Most often, electricity. Where electricity, we use coal pots, use of charcoal. Now, we have a certain percentage that when it rains, not very use of equipment. That is, as a result, that is what gives to this incident. Generally, us as a nation, and so we also have the perception that if it is raining, fires don't occur. They use these equipments anyhow. And for example, somebody may be heating water or cooking or whatever, and may leave that, oh, let me turn and come. By the time the person comes, it has turned to a different thing, and it has resulted in fire. So that is one aspect of it, being careless, and at the same time, there is an increase in the use of heating sources. That is the cause of the rise that we see. The other aspect is that what we have realized is, you see, previously, when we are burying earthen wire or earth wire, we bury them with salt. And this salt is a source of worry to the wire that we have buried underground. the salt causes corrosion. And so once the salt is in contact with the wire, it gradually corrodes the wire and the wire gets torn off. Once the wire is cut off like that, and there is lightning, and mind you, this year we have had a lot of lightning. And so once there is lightning, be sure that it is going to start a fire. The reason being that when your arrestor or your earthing system receives the lightning, because it comes in the form of excess current within your electrical circuit, that is why you have the wire going into the ground. So it must pass the excess current into the ground. However, because the wire is short-circuited, it has nowhere to pass. And therefore, the excess current remains in the building. And once the system cannot contain the excess current, then it must start a fire in the premises. And so this is the other aspect that causes most of these fires that we have seen the increase or the rise in fire statistics when it comes to the month of May or when we have started getting the rains. So one is our attitude and the use of a lot of heating sources because the weather is cold. Everybody wants to get some heat. And then two is that our buildings are becoming a source of fire anytime there is lightning. So my advice to anyone listening to us is that, look, if your building is about 10 years or more, get your competent electrician to check your earthing systems for you so that anytime there is lightning, you will not be found wanting.
So viewers, if your building is over 10 years, help us. And we know that you have bushfires, you have domestic, you have commercial, and the other types of fires that you record over the period. If you look at the chart on your screen, you would realize that for both years, domestic fires recorded the highest, accounting for 36.2% in 2023, and then 34.8% in 2024. This was followed by bushfires, recording 17.8% in 2023, vis-a-vis 18.7% in 2024. This was also followed by commercial, recording 16.6% in 2023, and then commercial recording 15%. So here you could see a marginal reduction. With the bushfires too, you could see a marginal increase. With the domestic fires, you could also see a marginal reduction. And then the rest follow in that order. Electrical fires, vehicular fires, then the others that involve crown fires and refuse dump fires, as well as industrial, recording the least fires. So, sir, if you consider this trend, would you say that we have much to do as a service, especially in our domestic and then our natural vegetation, where we are recording slightly higher bushfires as compared to same period last year? What must we do to bring down the numbers of domestic fires, bushfires, commercial, and then electrical installation?
So let me start from the bushfires. You realize that I indicated from the onset that because the weather was severe this year, we recorded a lot bit more bushfires. We are recording a lot more bushfires because, one, we have not changed our attitude. We keep on burning the bushes for the rearing of our animals, and we also set bushfires. If you even look at it, in the urban centers, we are rather recording more bushfires than in the rural settings. Simply because, you see, we often set fires to our bushes. Once we set the fires to our surroundings, they become bushfire. Most often, we weed around and set the fire. Now, because the weather is too dry, the embers are carried by the wind, and wherever they fall, they begin another bushfire. And so we should be able as a people to change our attitude when it comes to starting a fire. The fires are not to be started when we get to the dry season. It is not like now that it is raining, so you can burn bush anyhow and nothing will happen. When we get to the dry season, it is anticipated that no one should start any fire. Once you start the fire, they will get out of hand. And once they get out of hand, it becomes something else, and the fire service must come in. And that is how come we are recording a lot of bushfires. If you look at it, it is not like those years in the 80s when our forest and cocoa plantation were burning. Now we record more bushfires in the urban centers than in the rural settings, based on the explanation I've given. Now when it comes to domestic fires...
So before you go to the domestic fires, now that per your research, you've been able to come up with the fact that we have a lot of the natural vegetation burning in the peri-urban areas, especially where we reside. What is the way forward? What different thing are you going to do as a service to ensure that this particular trend is reversed? Because we all knew, or we all know that the bushfires normally occur in a natural setting where we have but this is happening especially where the population is all that huge. What is the service going to do differently to curtail this particular trend?
So we are going to continue with our public safety education. However, the education is to be centered around changing mindset and attitude. Once we are able to do this and are able to change people's attitude, then we are going to automatically get the result. Because if the attitude is such that, the environment is grown, so let me burn it out instead of weeding, then we are still going to experience the bushfires. But once we know that it's an attitudinal issue, then our education is going to focus on changing attitudes in addition to the normal education that we churn out to the public. So this is one way of dealing with the current situation that we find ourselves. In other ways, we can also enforce the laws, because we have the laws there, just that we have relaxed implementing the law or enforcing the law. Therefore, one other aspect that we have to look at is that if people's attitudes are not changing, then we need to go into enforcement. So we'll be looking at the two side by side to ensure that we achieve our aim.
All right, thank you, sir. So viewers, as the Ghana National Fire Service is going to intensify its education around people setting their surroundings on fire, their bushes and their refuse and on fire around our domestic settings, so as to enable them to change their attitude towards it. But if that fails, then it means that the provisions in the Law 229, that is the PNDC law that borders on control and prevention of bushfires, will be applied, and that would also culminate into applying sanctions and jail terms that would ensure that this trend becomes a thing of the past. So, sir, why is it that almost every year the Ghana National Fire Service record about, let's say, more than 30% or sometimes close to 40% of fire outbreaks being those around our domestic enclaves.
Right, so you said domestic fires have not gone below 30%. Even though we have about 8 categories of fires that we have, always domestic fires hovers between 30 and 40%, which is too much on the high side, but it can be explained. You know, as Africans, we always use fire for our daily chores and activities, wherever we are, either for heating, for cooking, for burning, or whatever you call it. And so we use fires a lot. However, we are unable to handle these fires effectively, either through carelessness or whatever. They get out of hand and they become an issue, sometimes to the extent that people lose their lives through these domestic incidents. And so fires within our domestic settings have always been on the rise. Now, we have done a lot of education over the years. However, still these fires occur. Now, there are certain fires that may occur. That one, there is very little you can do about it. However, there are a lot much more that we can prevent. And these are the ones that, if they occur, they are a cause of worry to us, because we believe that we have churned out a lot of awareness creation through this public education. And therefore, if people are still being careless in handling these fires, and they get out of hand, causing damage to property, as well as people losing their lives, then much more attention must be paid when it comes to domestic fires. And once again, I think, like I indicated for the bushfires, we are also going to look at a change of attitude when it comes to handling of fires. Because, you see, what you do within this particular season that it is raining, that will not result in fire. When we get to certain periods of the year, you cannot behave that same way. Fires will occur. And when they occur, most often we just have one exit out of the home, and we are unable to come out of of our premises when fires occur. And that is how come we lose people when fires occur in our homes. And mostly these occur during the night. But when it is daytime, it is hardly before you hear somebody losing his life as a result of fires. Maybe if you hear one, then it is a baby who is sleeping in the room as at the time of the incident. Outside that, we've not identified or recorded any when it comes to any deaths, when it comes to domestic incidents for that matter. So we are also looking at it again, whether we should enforce the laws or whether we should also do our part. You know, LI 1724, that is a fire precaution in premises, has been amended to 2249, if I'm right. That one gives the fire service authority to issue fire permits to our domestic settings. However, there is a clause in there that the fire service is supposed to provide the homes with fire protective equipment. I'm talking in terms of fire extinguishers, fire alarm systems, sprinklers, etc. in homes, so that when these equipments are provided, the fire service will in turn train the occupants of the premises, so that in the event of any eventuality, you'll be able to apply these equipment that are provided. You agree with me that this involves massive finances. As at today, the fire service is not in a position to do that. So we want to enter into what we call PPP, public-private partnership, with the private sector, where the private sector will pump in the finances to bring in these equipments. Then this equipment will be installed in homes. Then the occupants will also be trained as to how to use these equipments. Once that is done, then we can strictly enforce LI 2249 to the latter, such that if you fail to comply and fires occur in your homes, then we can take you on, send you to court for the court to pronounce judgment. Now, we believe that this is the way forward because, look, previously, when you mentioned the statistics, I think industrial is the least that we recorded.
Exactly.
It is simply because the initial act that came, LI 1724, was for commercial premises, and therefore we strictly enforce it in the industrial settings, and that is how come we don't see industrial fires in recent days, simply because what is expected to be done in terms of safety have all been put in place in these our industries, and if you don't comply, we will not renew your certificate, and therefore you will not be able to operate. And that is how come we are experiencing least fires in those areas.
Sir, not to cut you, but since the service has been able to enforce all the safety protocols in this industrial setting, therefore it has culminated in the low numbers of fires being recorded from that premises or such premises. Are Ghanaians justified to blame the service for not doing much to kind of enforce the provisions as enshrined in LI 2249? Because if you tell us that we are to do PP with the private sector, and then that is the game changer, that will be the game changer. And since 2015 or so, we've not been able to implement this particular law. Then are Ghanaians justified that we are not helping their cause, and therefore that is why domestic fires continue to increase by over 30% each and every year that we come out with these statistics?
So I would not say the service has not done much. The service has done its part and continues to do its part. You know, when before certain, even though the law has been passed, you need clearance to be able to start with the implementation of LI 2249. One of the factors is that we should have the partner or the private partners in place. Now, before we can have the private partners in place, we must have authorization from Ministry of Finance as well as our mother ministry, Ministry of Interior. Now, these two ministries must come together and ensure that they trust that what we are going to do will not bring any hardship and untold hardship, for that matter, on Ghanaians. So, for instance, when we provide the equipment to every home, we are supposed to, every premises is supposed to pay for the services that we render. So Parliament will have to come up with how much we are supposed to charge each facility. And so the state looks at all of this. And for instance, if they think that is going to impose difficulty on the citizens, then they may decide to hold on. And so if they are holding on because maybe it will create additional burden on the citizens, then they would like to hold on. And so that is why we are where we are. I think at the appropriate time, the authorization will be given for us to start the implementation. So if you ask me, we have done our part. It is left with the Ministry of Finance to give us the go-ahead to start the implementation of LI 2249.
So viewers, from the Director of Public Relations, the management of the Ghana National Fire Service has done its bit in ensuring that your homes, your residential premises are safeguarded and installed with or fitted with fire protection equipment, but not until the state gives clearance. That will not culminate into additional financial burden on the citizenry. We are going to keep hold on to that, and at appropriate time, he hopes that the clearance will be given and that program could be rolled out. So, looking at the statistics, we realize that over the period, electrical installation fires continue to also increase. In 2023, from January to May, we recorded a little over 11% of such fires. But this same period, this year, we are recording a 13.5% increase, meaning there is a slight increase. What is accounting for this, and what is the service also doing with its major stakeholder, ECG, and all the other power producing corporations or agencies to be able to bring down these numbers? Because we are experiencing a lot more transformer fires, utility pole fires, and what have you. What is really accounting for this, and what has the collaborations been so far?
Right, so like you rightly indicated, it has to do with facilities belonging to our major stakeholders, ECG on the one side and the GRIDCO on the other side. These are the major stakeholders when it comes to provision of electricity. And so it is their facilities that most often catch the fire for us to respond to. Now, one of the reasons why these things are happening is that especially when it comes to the transformers. You know, every transformer must have an earthing system. Now, most of these facilities have been stolen because the conductors used to carry the excess current to the ground is, I hear, is very lucrative when it comes to selling. And so scrupulous people go in there, steal these wires, cut them, and then go and sell. So most of these ECG facilities are without earthing system. And therefore, any slight excess current that passes in causes a problem, including lightning. And so this is one of the reasons why such facilities keep on catching fires, giving a rise to the fire incidents that we record over the period. Because it's our major stakeholders, we are in talks with them to see how best these issues can be tackled. Not only that, we are also looking at the meters that are installed outside. These facilities also gives us a lot of fire incidents that we respond to. And so these are the two areas that we are looking at when it comes to sitting down with the Electricity Company of Ghana as well as GRIDCO to ensure that we minimize the incidence of fire outbreaks when it comes to transformers and then meter fires.
Thank you so much. So viewers, if you've been joining us now, this is Fire Service in Focus, and it is happening to you live from the Studios B of the Fire Service TV. We are also live on our socials, that is Facebook and YouTube, with the handle at GNFS Official, at GNFS Official. Kindly tune in or search for us and then join in the conversation. The WhatsApp number remains 050-960-8744. 960-8744. Send in your comments, your questions, and we'll be glad to respond to them appropriately. So while the conversation was going on, acting director to join us in the CFO2 Force and say you're welcome. You join us with the ECG, calling a lot of your men there to fight these very risky. Sometimes for them to from the area becomes a challenge. Has been your experience, your to bring situation?
Our challenge, one of the, when it comes to you and I know that fire leaching the area. The main that is for section 2 they are the main stakeholders. They have key they are using isolate for that was the fire. But like I'm saying many times, if even they will minutes and then so stay there. Electrical fire, if you don't to use open and shut, I can use again our personnel to serious danger. So we have stopped doing that of your personnel. You don't submit or commit them to incident whereby life. So we always area. They keep period before when they turn up. Sometimes they will tell you they have to isolate in if they are wider. We are between 2 to we are done. If the fire will continue to reach and eventually then a lot of right. I had my boss they meet hazard when they meet side. It is in yes, so weather affecting everything. Many of our what we are we ask anything they can do to make sure that the tests are not exposed to sun. This budget it's not a completely it will malfunction. And again, you and I know that the weather condition it has. Wind tenders action. Recently, the experiencing action and the overhead cable a fire attack or where it so this we have talk about. I heard you saying domestic fires and the fires asserted how that Queen have the unattended jet contribute fires. I've also come up with a policy that we need to, if it's domestic fire, it is we categorize domestic, we categorize gas leakage. We can have a fair, make sure that any time you have any platform to educate, you have education with PUR. Incident we tap to come in. It's a lot of teaching. So and with the Energy Commission as well, planning engineers on so this thing in place. Men, even though they know, but at least it is an for them to
the issue already or in terms of you see the key stakeholders will be the timelines, improve the attend installation fires.
Yes, has been well. We want to invite all officers within the maybe just we do it a model something like should I say example at so we are in
June.
See the
training.
Yes, yes.
So that bring to be five. So training of associated mess, this utility burning every now and then that have been installed, the mercy of the weather burning every now and then, and your men being called upon. That is what timelines are. Should we will know that of electrical fires have gone percent to, let's say, about 9% to the barest minimum.
But what I can cables that are cables. Now, why am I when electrical down with the core possible cause is to mind you, he's not only the person coming with engineering, you find it and then resolve this. When there was an incident, it a lot of
AG.
So very establish you play hands in their control. Time you call them, you know, they need to control to we are their services. Once we are and they have come to
us, this is what the directorate wants to do. That is ways of upon our communication with our major stakeholders in the electrical, and we believe that when things are as that we are hoping to massive improvement of fires that we record with respect to our meters that are installed outside under the and all the other ancillary utility poles that by fires in recent times, so that we can low numbers. There are operations. A short break. When we dip into it is not as well at the last one that Ecomog around at Nkrumah. We will look at SPAD. Is it true that they called us? It took us 3 hours. Scene. The expectation of the media when they get to such scenes, giving us a balance, we'll delve into all this and whether these investigated, what caused them. Please do not go anywhere. Keep your comments. The WhatsApp line 050987, and when we come, we will delve in. Do not.
I came across power safety technology. So I introduced that and over the period, they have testified how power safety technology them when the need arises.
Power safety. Safety is our hallmark.
Welcome, our cherished viewers. As the fire service in focus coming to you of the Ghana National Fire. Today we have 6 for the first 5 months. Earlier on indicated there is a slight increase or the rate of 5.1% into the Ghana National Fire. That is not of worry because the last week Wednesday we recorded an Ecomog railway line where the people accuse us that it is to get you to give us the time and then give us a time fire and time fire ported vis-a-vis time fire the time takes to get. Can you help us? And then
very much. If the saw we saw when we were we control forward Christopher 38 in 3 hours. They are at the station.
It took us 3 hours.
Oh, I don't know where this 3 hours is coming from, because if you know the terrain very well, when you talk of Ecomog, it's on the railway line. Christabel is right. Christabel Fire Station is right under the overhead. So from the overhead to the VIP, you continue to where the fire gutted. That is the Ecomog. It's not more than, my worst guess would be about 5 kilometers. And if even you are crawling, you are not walking, you are crawling, it will not take 3 hours because it's just a short distance. So our men took only 4 minutes. You received the call 38 hours. They were dispatched 17:39 hours. Exactly 17:43 hours, they were there. So if we are talking about timelines, they took only 4 minutes. When they got there, they faced a mob action. The people attacked them. What was the reason? The reason is they didn't come early.
Wow.
So the officer in charge, when he saw the gravity of the situation, he started calling for multiple pumps. And then he called for isolation of the area. That is ECG to isolate area, and also call for police assistance.
Sir, please, not to cut you, but you see, we have witnessed a lot of these mob action that has led to the people injuring our operational men. What is your directorate doing differently to curb this kind of situation? Because it's becoming one too many.
Yes. It is unfortunate. We are going there to perform a call mandate to put out fire. We don't carry weapons. And of course, such situations, we don't even need to carry a weapon. Our weapon is only the engine and the water and the concentrate that we are going to use to put out a fire. So if you are going to attack us, it's like an assault, and you need to be taken, you need to be brought to book. You remember the Kumasi one, they've sent the people to the court. I don't know where it has ended. But with this particular case, police came in very early. So they were able to, calm the irate youth down to enable us do our work.
So
but
as you can see on your screens, we have some pictures of the fire that occurred at ECOMOG last Wednesday. So, Director of Operations, we want to understand how come the fire spread within some few minutes after its occurrence. For the sake of clearer understanding, let the viewers understand the difference between time fire was discovered and then when the fire service was alerted, yes, and when we got to the scene, so as to be able to clear their minds of the misconception of always any framework to wait. We've called you severally for a long time and you are not at the scene, so that they would understand and then appreciate the work that we do as firefighters.
Thank you very much. Let me use this very ECOMOG fire as an example. After the firefighting, we started conducting investigation that would lead us into the cause of fire. And when we started the investigation, 3 or 4 people were of the opinion that the fire started around 3 p.m. That is 15:00 hours, thereabout. That was the time the fire started from. They attempted to do what? To put the fire out.
Okay.
So they started salvaging their items. All this while, nobody has called fire service. So the time we received the call, if I'm using their time, let me say 15:30 hours. We were called 17:38 hours.
That is more than 2 hours.
Thank you. So somebody standing somewhere may say that, oh, they've called fire service and they are not around. We only received the call 17:38 hours, exactly 17:39 we dispatched the nearest tender, which is Castle. So that perception, of course, they are under duress and distress. Let me use this word, because it's like they are. What is the word?
Yeah,
emotionally disoriented because of the situation. So for time, they will not tell you the actual time. But all what they will say is, oh, yeah, how can you say that we use 3 hours? A fire that a station is less than 5 kilometers away.
Let me ask Director PR this question. What should be the expectation of the media, who normally tend to fuel this kind of misconception out there that we always arrive at fire incidents late? What is expected of them in order to curb this kind of nuance?
Right. So what is expected of them is for the media to understand and know that someone who has his property bent will churn out any information at all, exaggerated information, if I should put it that way. What is important is that I am not saying they shouldn't interview such people. You interview them. But the basics of journalism gives you what we call a balanced story. And so once you have interviewed whoever has lost his items to the fire, also interview the fire service and play the clips together for the general public to make up their minds. But because they themselves want to create sensational stories for their stations to sell, they will just play what the victims have said. And then already there is that perception out there that, oh, fire service, when you call them, they won't come early. But you see, I've always been saying that our technology as a nation is nowhere near where if a fire occurs anywhere, the fire service is alerted automatically. We've not gotten there yet. And so our system is that when any incident occurs, you must take the phone or take a car or bicycle or run to the nearest fire station and report the incident to the fire service. If you don't do this, we are not magicians to know that there is an incident elsewhere to attend to. And so if in your own wisdom you think that you have to salvage your items before you call the fire service, then why do you turn around to blame the fire service when your things get burned? You see, we have been receiving this bashing for a very long time. And for me, I say I am used to. If we give you the education that, look, this is what you are supposed to do. If a fire incident occurs, whether you can handle it or not, call the fire service first. Before, if you can tackle, you go ahead to tackle the situation. But if you decide to evacuate your items and then turn back to say that the fire occurred in 2 hours ago and you are now turning up, did you inform the fire service? Most often when they see the media, they say, oh, we call the fire service. What the media too fail to do is to probe further. Ask for numbers that they use to call the fire service or get evidence from their phone indicating that, yes, this is the time we call the fire service. The media take whatever they say, hook and sink, and churn it out to the public. I think our media is not doing well in that respect. You see, we all sat in the same classroom and we were taught that if you are doing a story, get both sides of the divide so that you come up with what we call a balanced story. But if you take one side and blow it up, and you see, we have men who are like you, who are working. These men kill themselves because some are maimed, and the injury they sustain is for life. And so if such people are killing themselves to save you, who carelessly allow fire to destroy your property, and by coming to your aid, they get injured for the rest of their life, and you keep on churning out false information about them, what do you think will happen? A time will come that the firefighters will say, oh, as for these people, whether we are early or late in arriving, they will criticize us, and so they will relax and at their own time respond. What are we doing to our fire institution? It means a time will come that if we don't take time, the firefighters themselves will not even feel, they will feel reluctant to attend to these incidents on time. Because whether they attend to it on time or not, you will criticize them. So why should they bother themselves arriving very early? But fortunately, we have been encouraging our firefighters not to go that way. It is only God who can judge them. Whatever the journalists do, they should forget about it and do what is expected of them.
So whatever the journalists do, firefighters, please do not renege, but motivate yourself and get the work done. On this score, Director of Operations, would you say the morale of the firefighters or operational men are high in the wake of the incessant attacks on them, and then people also lambasting them for not being adequately protected? Do you think that the morale is high?
I would say yes. Instinctively, if you are a fire officer, that die-hard spirit is always with you. Okay, so when you see somebody's property burning, you don't feel at ease. You just want to go there and do something. So, for that matter, I would say the morale is not low, despite the fact that you are being lambasted, you are being given all sorts of names. Once the incident occurs, wherever you are, if you are in the operation room, you see how men will jump and then mount the tender within 30 seconds. And then the next 30 seconds, the appliance is on the move. So if our morale is low, we will not execute that kind of, agency. So I may say, no, our morale is always high. But for how long will you continue to do this? Just like my boss said. In fact, when you go to certain places and people attack you, it's like so whatever you are doing, they don't even appreciate it. But then, once you know your duty, once you have sworn that oath of allegiance, that you are going to protect life and property of the citizenry, that alone propels you to, do more. I have an incident to use based on a question that you asked. There was one fire we attended at Atomic. That fire chief also even attended that fire with us. When you got there, there was a gentleman saying, they called us 2 hours, you were nowhere to be found. So I said, are you sure? What number did you call? Then a gentleman owned up. Apparently we used 17 minutes to get there. So when the guy said, oh, I called. I said, what time did you call? He mentioned the time, and then I also mentioned the exact time. Then I said, we got here this time. They also mentioned, on his phone, he showed that this is the time he called, and this is the time we got there. And that place was quiet. This Hong Kong market, this Ecomog fire, we used 4 minutes. But because the people prevented us from, executing our job as early as possible, it also escalated the situation. When wood is burning, it burns at a faster rate. And then, if instead of you being allowed to confine the fire and you are being hampered by so-called irate youth, definitely the fire will not wait for you.
Sure.
So, and the fire, once fire is burning, it expands exponentially. It doesn't expand like 1, 2, 3. It expands on all angles.
Sure.
So in less than no time, it will occupy a wider space. That's why I always give thumbs up to my men, that they were able to confine the fire, even though they were prevented from initial attack. They were able to confine the fire, and then were able to save the situation. It's only that stretch that got bent. But if you've been there, you know that right behind the wall is a pharmaceutical company. And then on the other side are also wooden structures. So at least if they cannot appreciate what we are doing, they should look at such things and then accord us with the necessary respect.
I understand your men were able to salvage over 100 structures, 150 structures, aside those that got bent. So what is the encouragement or the words of encouragement that you want to give out there? And then for the purpose of our viewers, let us know if the cause of the fire has been established or if there is any other thing concerning that fire that you want us to know.
Yes, what I would tell our gallant firefighters is that our ultimate aim is to save life and property. So if you attend any incident and you're able to save lives and then property, you have achieved your aim. Despite the fact that there are other instances whereby people will lose their property. Once there was fire, definitely some property will be lost. But it is our core mandate to prevent the fire from spreading and then causing further damage. So I would say, like you rightly said, there are about 450 wooden structures used for both commercial and residential purposes. But we were able to salvage almost about 150 of the wooden structures, including those big companies and then the other side of the rail. You know, the rail divides the structures. So the left side, all the stretch were salvaged. Now the right side that we had the bent properties there. And then again, when it comes to the cause of fire, we were able to narrow the origin of fire. where the fire started from, based on our intel. But as to what actually caused the fire, the ignition source is what we are still investigating. Because such fire is very difficult coming out with the exact cause.
But have we been able to identify those who were occupying that space?
And that is one of the major challenges we face when we are conducting investigation. Naturally, every human being will feel defensive when we are asking him or her any question. Because he may be the person staying there, but he will tell you, no, he wasn't the one. And you cannot demand answers from people when you are doing interrogation. So we know the spot where the fire started from. There's a place called, they say Soldier Bar, just some 2-3 structures to the Soldier Bar. That's where the fire started. And then, according to our intel, those there who saw it had wanted to do what? To tackle the fire. They were calling people to come in and tackle the fire, but everybody was busily salvaging their item. So the ignition source, we are yet to determine.
Is left. So viewers, we have been able to narrow down to the origin of the fire. Investigations are still ongoing to determine the ignition source so as to be able to come out with the exact cause of last Wednesday Ecomog fire. We understand some pylons were also affected, and we want to know, has the place been built up?
The pylons, I think it affected 2 of their lines. I think that line is almost about 33,000 volts. It affected it. 2 of their lines dropped. It's now because of the heat that affected the cables. But for the pylons, I mean, they were standing there. I don't think the integrity of the pylons has been affected.
Have the residents been allowed to put up their wooden structures again?
No. The minister, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, made it emphatically that he doesn't want anybody to go there again. So as at now, I have not been there, but I'm sure that it still remains the same. They will not allow people to go there and put up any structure.
We understand that last week, was it Tuesday or Monday or so, a fire occurred around RCC, Wager, RCC or so. And then, per the swift response of your men, the situation was brought under control by means of Kasua coming in and Anya also coming in. And then the last time to Legon, Commonwealth Hall, per their swift response, they were able to contain the tower fire, and then that drew the attention of the Member of Parliament who even came and then congratulated them. What has been your secret with the operational wing responding swiftly to fire emergencies here and there ever since you assumed this office? And then your final words whilst we wrap up this section.
For any fires that we are now attending, we normally deploy 2 vehicles instead of 1. Because of this, our hydrant situation we are facing now. Sometimes the hydrant, you will not have water running through the hydrant. So if per adventure you want to go and tap water or replenish from that hydrant, you may go a longer way. So this current chief officer, I mean, we sat down and he came up with a strategy that if there's any fire, the moment the officer in charge gets there, master control and officer in charge should be communicating. Do you need assistance? If even the officer in charge says no or negative, then the number of calls that are coming, then we quickly deploy another tender to go and then support. So in a case like the Legon, the tower fire, they have a station, less than 2 minutes. Somebody called me. One of the professors called me. So I called the master control and dispatched the gun to go. When they got there, he said the fire is at the ceiling or the tower. So we asked them to enter. You don't stand outside and throw water, so you have to enter. There and then we deploy a bigger tank. You know, Legon tank is about, the capacity of the water is 3,600 liters. Then we have to deploy 13,500 liters to come and augment the water supply. So that's what we did. And we were able to, you know, bring the fire under control and eventually extinguish it. I think it was even raining. So that also contributed to, you know, our swift response. And again, the one at the Kasua, you know, they were called upon to attend. But on their way, the first pump had broke down. So, like I'm saying, because we have communicated with 2 stations to be on standby, the other station, which is Anya, also was deployed. So they were able to get there on time to make sure that they bring the situation under control. I think all this while, they will use almost 17 minutes to get to the fire ground, which is a plus, because looking at the distance from Anya and then Weja RCC, it's quite a distance. But because we have that a plan, that in case you hear a station attending to a fire within your jurisdiction or around your jurisdiction, you also mop yourself and then support. So that's what we did, and we were able to, bring the fire under control as early as possible, and then finally extinguish it. And I must say that currently, the situation we are facing, the fires gradually coming down. If you look at the statistics, they are coming down, with the exception of the domestic fires. What I will say is we have 3 components or 3 elements that can cause fire. When they come together, fire will always occur. But 2 are always together. The fuel and the oxygen, they are together. What is remaining is ignition source, being heat. So in whatever you are doing, make sure that you don't allow heat source to go to any or come into contact with any combustible material. The moment it happens like that, definitely fire will occur. And again, I'm not saying what I'm saying is, when you are going out, make sure you put off all your gadgets and then unplug it from the socket, with the exception of the fridge. As for fridge, there's a device that regulates it. But apart from fridge, whatever you have, your television set, air condition, make sure you put them off. Kofi Forson, when I'm leaving the house and I'm the last person to leave the house, I will make sure I'll put off my mains. Because some years ago we were experiencing doomsday, and we live with it. So when I'm leaving the house, especially Sundays, I always allow my children to go with my wife, and then I will stay behind and then put off the main switch. Why am I doing this? Because the heat energy that will add up to the fuel and then the oxygen within the room has been eliminated. And therefore, there will be nothing like fire occurring. So these are some of the